What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. I'm your host, SERG VICENTE, and this is episode 332 of the show. Check it out, guys. We're doing some new stuff for the Fight Podcast, and I need you guys to know the Fight Podcast is your one-stop shop for all things combat sports, and we're doing something new. From now on, we will be showing every Wednesday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You will go ahead and actually see the Fight Podcast right on YouTube, all right? The thing that we're doing a little differently as opposed to the way that we've always done it. We've always just done like our interviews and we'll have our shows, like I said, a little roundup. We're really going to combine boxing, MMA, pro wrestling on one big show. Yes, you'll see the clips and everything, and I'll kind of spread it all out through social media in that way, but we're focusing on something big, man. We're going to do something that people have not done on here. We're going to do an all-encompassing, dope-ass culture and, like, you know what I'm saying, in combat sports show. We have always prepped it. I've always talked about it, but that's exactly what we're going to do, all right? So that is what's going to happen in the future. I'm going to tell you guys about some other things as well before we get into it. But on today's menu, so y'all know exactly what's cracking today. We are going to go ahead and talk about what are the biggest stories coming out of Adesanya Whittaker 2. We're also going to get my thoughts on Joe Rogan, his absence, what Dana White has said. We're going to have a little boxing talk with the Guru's Corner and B Cam. We're going to have a little bit of pro wrestling with the Royal Rundown and Ms. Dre Day. We're going to break down UFC Fight Night 48 and so much more. I'm telling you guys, it is a full show now, okay? Full on, you know what I'm saying, late night show just for fights. We'll have guests, we'll have other things, but also one thing we have merch. Finally, after like 4 solid years, the Fight Podcast has merch, and you can check out all of merch as you see right now. If you guys are watching live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, you see right now, we're going to be getting the camera real quick. Boom! I'm rocking one of our Fight Podcast original crew necks. We have coffee mugs, like you see right here as well, that are super dope. All of them are designed by the first lady of the Fight Podcast, our creative director, Tosh. So shout out to Tosh for that one, for hooking everything up for us. But yes, check us out. We're on Etsy. You can check us out, the Etsy shop, etsy.com/shop/the Fight Pod shop. Etsy.com/shop the Fight Pod shop. So check it out, man. We got some really dope shit, and we'll continue doing that along. The more shows and whatnot we get, the more, man. So with all that being said, I hope you guys had a great weekend. Here in LA, obviously, it was a Super Bowl, and what is it? The Rams ended up winning 23-20. It ended up being a great game. I did end up watching part of it. As you guys know, I'm not the biggest fan of pro football and everything. Yes, I'm political. Yes, I'm woke. But at the end of the day, I don't like how they treat, some of my people. So I kind of stopped watching the game, even though I played, high school. And I do love football. Come on, I'm a Chicago dude. I'm a Bears fan. And now I live in LA. So with the Rams are being there, I had to see the halftime show. And look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. That has to be top 3, halftime shows of all time. We got, Mike, we got Prince. And then we got Dr. Dre and Snoop, all right? Dr. Dre, Snoop go out there. 50 Cent, looking extra thick, goes out there and, does his thing also. Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar. The show was just phenomenal. I got a kick of it. And at the end of the day, the game itself was dope. I feel bad for Odell Beckham Jr., but, at the end of the day, he still got his shit, man. So salute to the L.A. Rams. And, I'm going to tell y'all this. Y'all know I'm a Chicago dude. But ever since I moved to LA, the Lakers won, the Dodgers won, the Galaxy won, and now the Rams won. Look, man, I'm not saying it's me. I'm also really right on these fight picks, man, so y'all should go ahead and mess with your boy. All right. Also this weekend, like I said, I was kind of at the crib chilling. I got a chance to kind of had a little free time, dove into a Jay Dilla kind of playlist on Tidal. And dude, spending a couple just hours kind of sitting back, this weekend. Yes, I partake. So I was rolling up, kind of just vibing out, listening to his music. And for those who don't know Jay Dilla was a producer, kind of came up under, Q-Tip, A Tribe Called Quest, as well as like DJ's Jazzy Jeff. He was one of the disciples of those guys, but he also worked with a whole bunch of other ones, Common, Erica Badu, Royce 59, Busta Rhymes, Slum Village. A lot of people know him for. So he influenced a lot of different people like Kanye, like that real soulful type of hip hop. And that's the type of shit I really grew up with. You know what I'm saying? I'm an 80s baby. As much as I love, Pac and Big and everybody, like I was really generation hip hop just like right after that. You know what I'm saying? So, backpacker hip hop and shit. The people who were really influenced by Jay Dilla I really fuck with. So it was a really dope thing. So I got a chance to check that out a little bit. And speaking of DJ Jazzy Jeff, I also watched that new Bel Air show. So I don't know if you guys seen it. It's the re-adaptation of Will Smith's, obviously the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. And I'm not going to stunt, y'all. I was wild skeptical. It was one of those shows that I'm like, why are you going to fuck up a classic? Why are we going to go out there and fuck up a classic? Why are we going to go out here and try to, and not only fuck up a classic, why are you going to make it serious? Why are you going to make it a drama? Dude, I tweeted about it. I talked shit. I was talking shit with my lady, about it. And I'll be honest with you, dead ass wrong. That show was fantastic. First 3 episodes in, I binged it all in the night. I even went back and watched a couple of, one of the episodes again. It's really well done. The characters, really still have the heart of the character. And it's just fire, man. So I love that. That's what I did this weekend. It was super dope. If you guys haven't checked that out, check out Lil J Dilla. Yeah, obviously check out, that Bel Air show. Obviously check out, our Etsy shop, our merch shop, etsy.com/shop/the Fight Pod Shop. Check that out. But there was fights this weekend. Not only was there the big Super Bowl, there was huge fights this weekend. And it was obviously UFC 271, Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker. This is absolutely the 2 top middleweights in the world. And it was a fight that a lot of people were really anticipating. Robert Whittaker, over the last 2 years since he lost to Israel Adesanya, has been on a tear. He was tearing everybody up. I mean, the way he destroyed Jared Cannonier, the way he absolutely dominated Kelvin Gastelum, and the way he honestly had an amazing showing in his first fight back against Darren Till. He went out there and proved that, he is still like one of the top dogs, if not the best guys in this weight class. So there are a lot of question marks, especially after seeing Israel Adesanya's, couple fights. Not me specifically, but this is what, people on the outside were saying. Myself, look, I'll be very honest with you. I love what he's done. I obviously I'm a stan of Israel Adesanya and his style. But people are always going to question people who are dominant. People always question, John Jones. People have always questioned the people who have these long and dominant runs. So obviously, I was anticipating it, and the fight itself, I think, lived up to the expectations. Some people say it was boring. Look, man, I'm a martial artist at heart. I thought it was an amazing chess match. And for those who do not know, spoiler alert for those who don't know, but hey, look, it's Wednesday. I hope you guys knew this already. But Israel Adesanya defeated Robert Whittaker 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Now, some of the judges and the way that they came up with some of these numbers and the rounds that they gave them, a lot of people are questioning it. A lot of people are saying, I thought Robert Whittaker won. One of our brothers, the Guru, B-Cam, hit me up and he said, I don't know, Serge. I think Rob got him. And for me, I found it interesting because I'll be honest with you. I'm one of those people that had it 49-46 for Israel Adesanya. Now, some of those rounds are very close, and I could understand how people I could even understand how people possibly gave Robert Whittaker the fight. I can see what their perspective is. I don't agree with them, but I can kind of understand. You know what I mean? I can kind of get it to an extent, but this is how I look at it. If there's any question marks, round 1, absolutely. We've heard people already say it. 1, Adesanya comes out like a bat out of hell, like he always does, drops, Robert Whittaker, almost gave us flashbacks of the first fight. So obviously that goes to him. 5th round, even though the 5th round was close, I thought it was the best work that Robert Whittaker did, especially him knowing that, look, he probably needs to finish to go ahead and win this fight. He went out there and absolutely, I think, won that round. The other rounds that people are saying they are in contention was maybe the second round and the fourth. I think that some of those rounds are close, but this is where the question goes out there. Again, how did I score it? I scored it 49-46. I scored rounds 1 through 4 for Israel Adesanya, and I scored rounds 5 for Robert Whittaker. How did I get there? Well, check it out. If we're looking at it, we're looking at the way, and the guys, I have my notes here. So if you're looking at me, I'm looking to the side. I just want to make sure I'm getting this shit right. Israel Adesanya lands 46 head strikes, 18 body shots, 37 leg strikes. On the other side, we have Robert Whittaker, who goes out there and does, let me see, what was his? 98, 64. That's what it was. Okay, so I'm sorry, I had the percent. I said the number, and I meant to say the percentages. So Israel Adesanya landed 46% of his strikes to the head, 18% of his strikes to the body, 37% to the legs. Robert Whittaker goes ahead and actually has 64% to the head, guys. And then in the biggest question I'm realizing is people are talking about takedowns versus leg kicks, because that's what it really boils down to. Robert Whittaker did score 4 of 10 takedowns, which good on him. He got these takedowns. But my question is this: what did he really do with the takedown? And that's how I score. If somebody gets a takedown, right? And a lot of people score it in terms of your butt hits the ground and you control it or whatever. In my opinion, is this: your butt can hit the ground, absolutely. But for the takedown to really take place, for the takedown to really, at least my humble estimation, for it to really count, you have to do something with it. I have to be able to control my opponent, and hold them there for a specific amount of time. Robert Whittaker wasn't able to do that. Robert Whittaker was never able to really. He might have had a minute of control time the entire fight combined. And if we go back and we look at some of Adesanya's other fights, specifically, we're looking at the Jan Blachowicz fight or even the Marvin Vettori fight, where in both of those fights, he was controlled for at least 7 minutes. He was controlled for less than a minute in this fight. So how is it possible that in the Vettori fight, he's held down for 7 minutes? This fight, he's held down for less than 1, but we still want to give Robert Whittaker the go-ahead in this one. I don't get that. I don't, it doesn't, really equate and make sense to me. On the other hand, Adesanya lands 29 leg kicks. Well, yes, I am a striker at heart. For those who listen to the Fight Podcast enough know that I do come from a kickboxing background. So one thing that I look at is what does more damage? And I'm going to ask you guys, and you guys put them in the comments. I really want to know what people have to say, is that I really do ask, what is the bigger deal? Is it a bigger deal to get a takedown that doesn't control me, I hop right back up, or I land a huge leg kick that makes it different? So if I'm doing a leg kick, that's the answer. I don't even have to keep explaining it. Leg kicks are more damaging if you're not controlling it. So I'm always going to score that higher. Israel Adesanya he's a leg kick heavy fighter. People who come from boxing or don't really understand MMA, or let me say this, have never been kicked in the leg, don't understand how damaging that is. They are looking at it as if it's like a jab. Dude, it's not like a jab. Those kicks are like haymakers. They're like huge right hands that stagger you. Think about every time you watch those leg kicks, now think about it in that capacity and tell me if you still think Robert Whittaker won. I know you won't. And if you're lying to me if you think you do. So some of the really passionate displays and you hear people going online and saying, oh, Rob was robbed. There was no robbery. I thoroughly understand your point and why you believe he won. I'm just telling you why you're wrong. All right. But I thought it was a great fight. Again, yes, sure, it could have gone either way, whatever. But I did have 49-46 Israel Adesanya. And one question I really do have is, where do both guys go from here? I think it's pretty clear for Adesanya. Jared Cannonier is next. Daniel White pretty much said so after the fight. Jared Cannonier, we'll talk about in a moment, had a great fight. Well, I'm not going to say great fight, but he had an amazing finish against Derek Brunson. And for Robert Whittaker's case, man, I hate to say this. I don't see him getting a title shot at any point in time soon. I don't see it happening at any point in time soon. And even if he does go out there and clears the division out again, Okay, let me rephrase that. I think he will get a title shot if Israel Adesanya does one of these two things. Um, Israel Adesanya would have to A, retire, or B, move up to 205. And after he beats Jared Cannonier, which isn't any easy feat, and I'm not trying to say it like just flippantly going out there and say it like, oh, okay, all of a sudden, he's just going to go ahead and smash Jared Cannonier. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if he beats him, I think he should go ahead, build his body up. His team has already talked about it. I think he should take about 6 months off, turn into a true light heavyweight, and really go after that belt. That's what I think Adesanya should do. And good luck to both of them. Honestly, they're by far the two best guys in the weight class. All right, moving right along. The rest of the card was actually pretty entertaining, and I'm not going to stunt. I really did enjoy the card. Got to feel bad for your boy Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis goes out there and honestly takes another KO loss. Ends up losing to Tai Tuivasa, 1 minute 40 seconds of round number 2. And it was a barn burner. They went out there and said they were going to slang and bang, and that's exactly what they did. It was a great performance from Tai Tuivasa. Derek Lewis, and in my opinion, his stock does not go down. I hate that he lost in his hometown, but his stock doesn't go anywhere. And the reason that I'm saying that his stock doesn't go anywhere is because his wrestling looks improved. He looked in fantastic shape. And dude, it's still Derek Lewis. He's going to put asses in seats. So it sucks that he lost. I know the rankings just came out, and Tai Tuivasa is now officially the number 3 ranked guy in the world. Salute to Tai Tuivasa. That was fantastic. Also on this card, obviously, Jared Cannonier goes out there and stops Blonde Brunson. 4 minutes and 29 seconds of the second round. Really devastating shit. Brunson went out there. I don't understand what Brunson does sometimes. Sometimes Brunson is like this. When he's been Blonde Brunson, he's been so focused. But this fight, after the first round, and after he seemed like he couldn't get Jared Cannonier out here, he reverted back to the Derek Brunson that fought Robert Whittaker back in the day, where we had a little bit of momentum, and then looked like he just completely forgot it. He completely forgot how to fight. I have no clue what happened. He was very, very, very undisciplined in that fight. And it hates to see it because that was his opportunity to get a title shot. I think he would have had an opportunity to fight Adesanya again if he beat Jared Cannonier. Now Jared Cannonier ends up getting that fight. So salute to him. Also, Renato Moicano goes out there and just destroys Alex Hernandez, cuts an amazing promo afterwards. Second round submission. Salute to him. Salute to the man, Bobby Green. Bobby Green goes out here and gets in a fantastic win against Nasrat Haqparast. That was great. He deserves a main event. UFC make it happen. Andrei Arlovski goes out there, gets a win. He keeps turning back these young pups. UFC is eventually going to learn. And last but not least, salute to Casey O'Neill for defeating Roxanne Modafferi by split decision. Look, it shouldn't have been a split decision. She went out there and broke all kind of records, significant strikes records, 230 significant strikes landed, 395 strikes thrown. But Roxanne Modafferi was right there, landing 120 strikes of her own, throwing 358 of her own as well. It was a fantastic fight. It was Roxanne's last fight in her MMA career, and she went out like an absolute warrior. Salute to the Heavy Warrior, Roxanne Modafferi, and Casey O'Neill. We might have something. We might have a future star with her. She's absolutely great. All right. Remember, you're listening to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. Listen to us everywhere podcasting is available. Apple, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Check us out at thefightpodcast.com. Check us out on all social media platforms as well at The Fight Podcast. And follow me at Serge Vicente. And do not forget, I'm going to keep reminding y'all, our merch shop is open. Etsy.com/shop/the Fight Pod shop. The Fight Pod Surge. Why is it the Fight Pod, not the Fight Podcast? The Fight Pod is because we're starting a little something new. We got a bunch of new shows and things coming to you. So we're not just one. We're the Fight Pod. Shit's coming. Can't wait to share. All right. Moving right along, guys. This is one of my favorite parts in the show. We always love talking to this dude. He is my brother from another. He is none other than B-Cam, the Guru. I always bring my brother on to go ahead and talk all things boxing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring the Guru on the show. What up, my brother?
What is good, boxing world? It is your boy B Cam, aka the Guru, and this is Guru's Corner, where we discuss all things boxing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. And this past weekend on PBC pay-per-view, it was Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios. Now, the fight being on pay-per-view is questionable, but that's another conversation for another day. We had a bunch of questions that needed to be answered about Keith Thurman, who had been out the ring for almost 2 years after his loss to Manny Pacquiao. We needed to know, does he still have it? We know what it is. We needed to know, does he still have it? And with a resounding answer, he gave us a yes. He does still have it. He looked really good over 12 rounds. He showed us a bit of everything that's always been Keith Thurman. Speed, power, movement, a weak chin at times, but overall he looked good, and now he looks for a showdown against some of the top names in the division. You think guys like Teron Ennis, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Yordenis Ugas, maybe even Virgil Ortiz. If he's able to pull any of these top names into a fight with him later this year, that is automatically a huge fight that probably does deserve to be on pay-per-view. So I'm excited to see where he goes next. Next up, this past weekend, it was Chris Eubank versus Liam Williams. Now we know I am no fan of Chris Eubank Jr., but he showed some significant improvements. I know he's been working with Roy Jones Jr., and he dominated the fight over the course of 12 rounds with his jab, knocking down Liam Williams 4 different times. 2 of those knockdowns were actually from the jab itself. So he looked really good, and before the fight, he mentioned he's looking to set up a showdown with Triple G, who does not have a dance partner right now. He's likely waiting around for Canelo Alvarez, but if he does get a fight with Canelo Alvarez, I doubt it's going to be the first half of this year. And Triple G's been pretty inactive. I think he does need to step in the ring at some point. So I think that would be a great matchup. It seems to make sense for both of them, and it seems like it would also make sense in terms of money for both of them. So I'd love to see that a little bit later this year. Also this weekend, we had Bam Rodriguez moving up not 1, but 2 weight classes to capture the vacant WBC super flyweight strap with his win over Carlos Cuadras. Now, if you have not seen it, stop what you're doing, go on YouTube, and look up that 3rd round knockdown. It puts all Bam's skills on display. He's a future star in the sport, and I'm excited to see what he does next. Now, he mentions after moving up 2 weight classes to capture that green strap that everybody wants, what is he going to do? He's going to vacate and go back down to his division and dominate a little bit more there, probably take a couple belts before moving up again. So looking forward to the long career of Bam Rodriguez. Lastly, we had Claressa Shields versus Emma Kozin. Now, Claressa Shields showed off some new and improved body work, which he said was inspired by Amanda Serrano, but it wasn't really about the fight. She took a wide points decision. We wanted to see if she can get the knockout. She certainly went for it, but she can never get it. Now, after the fight, that's what we all waited for. She got to face off with Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall is the last woman to beat Claressa Shields back in the amateurs, but it's been a long time since then. A lot has changed, and Claressa Shields is looking to get some get back a little bit later this year. So huge, that'd be automatically another mega fight in the sport. We already have Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. This would be another big one in the books this year. It puts eyes on women's boxing. And when you're putting eyes on the sport and you're growing the sport, you're doing something right. So shout out to these women who are stepping up and making the big fights.
All right, there it was. Thank you to the Guru himself, B-Cam. Yo, boxing, in the beginning of the year, it's funny. It's always one of those things that it's never as busy as we would like it to be. But yo, some of the events that are upcoming, I cannot wait for. And there's always the potential of certain things. I mean, the potential of a Charlo versus Canelo, the potential of a Lomachenko going out there and fighting George Kambosos is something that is kind of out there right now that seems like they're in negotiations. Those are the things that are exciting. So obviously we love what's happening with boxing right now. Thank you so much to the Guru for joining us on the show. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. Because I'd be remiss if I didn't speak on this. I want to give my thoughts on Joe Rogan, his UFC 271 absence, and all the controversy that he's had. So we already know that Joe Rogan has been going under a lot of controversy and stress and beef, and people, trying to, the way he says it, are trying to put a hit job out on Joe Rogan. And I've seen a lot of people in the MMA community who have really gone out of their way to support and back Joe Rogan. I understand it. For all of us who grew up with MMA, for all of us that really love combat sports, I mean, again, MMA, especially the UFC, we have an affinity with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was the guy that really introduced a lot of us to MMA. Not only did he make MMA cool, he made weed cool. He made, having interesting conversations cool. He is the godfather of podcasting. So there is, and also being a comedian, there's an inherent coolness that comes with that. So between all of that and his kind of buck the system attitude, I absolutely understand and I get why a lot of people have come to his defense and aid with the way people are claiming or saying there's misinformation, with his vaccine stuff, which he does put out a lot of misinformation, not just on the vaccine, but just a lot of different things. And again, don't piss your pants when I'm saying that, whatever, up to interpretation, whatever the fuck you want. But facts are facts. A lot of things that he's saying aren't true. And I know that he gets to a point in time where he says, look, I'm not a real journalist, so I'm just a guy talking on a mic. Well, when you're at a point in time where you're starting to get the recognition and the acclaim, there is a responsibility that you have. It's that stupid fucking Spider-Man line. With great power comes great responsibility. And he's abusing that power by not understanding the responsibility he holds. So it also goes to, after that, you have him dropping nigger left and right on his show. Oh, Serge, you said it. I'm a black man in this country. I'm gonna say what the hell I want to say. And people are looking at Joe Rogan dropping it and saying, oh, it's taken out of context, and he didn't mean it like that, and black folks say it all the time in rap words or whatever. Look, that's neither here nor there. There's no place, there's no reason why any white person in our society today should say the N-word. None of them should say it at all. No, there's no excuse. There's no saying it in context. You understand, if you live in this country, you understand the power that word has. And the fact that you understand, you would have the power that word has, what you're saying is wrong. So he goes out there and says it. And here's the thing. I want to preface this by saying this. I don't hate Joe Rogan. I'm not canceling Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan needs to be held accountable. Now, did he apologize? That was the most bullshit apology ever. To apologize and say, but look, I was taken out of context, and there's no context. Dude, you fucked up. And that's what he should have said. Look, man, I fucked up. I'm sorry. You guys, it really hurts that anybody would think that, blah, 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 and leave it at that. Don't give me an explanation. I don't give a shit about the explanation. You're wrong. So now let's go to UFC 271 and him not being there. He said that, the UFC PR team goes out there and says that, Dana White, or he has conflict of scheduling issues, and he will not end up being in the event 271 where he was scheduled to. Dana White afterwards goes out there and says that's not true. He chose not to show up, and he seemed like he was a little pissed off about it, which was interesting in his own right. Yeah, that's probably exactly what happened. Disney probably was like, yo, look, dude, he has too much heat going right now. We don't want them there. And it's their right to go out there and do that. And I think that was absolutely the right call. The funniest shit about that is, though, him not even being on the telecast, him calling in and saying in the main event that Israel Adesanya's hand was broken. And at the end of the fight, it turns out that Izzy's hand wasn't broken. So he goes out there and stays so on brand. And he still spreads misinformation in the middle of the fight. You couldn't make it up. It was the most, on brand shit ever. But here's the thing. The moral of the story is, and to kind of put a bow on it, Joe Rogan was wrong. Joe Rogan has consistently showed his ignorance and his privilege. And it's one of those reasons why myself, as a person who was a stan of Joe Rogan, don't really follow him any. I don't really follow him at this point in time. Those who know me know that there's a point in time where I was like, yo, I want to be like the Joe Rogan, the black and Puerto Rican Joe Rogan. And I don't want that shit no more. I just want to be the freaking first Surge. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at that, I look at what he's doing. It's unfortunate. I hope that this is a learning lesson for Joe Rogan, but The thing that I hope he understands now is that he has a responsibility. And there's a lot of people, he might not inherently be racist. What he did was absolutely racist. But what he might not inherently be racist, but he absolutely has preconceived prejudices against individuals. That asinine joke and shit that he was trying to say against, the Planet of the Apes, shit's not funny. Okay, I don't care if he said it was racist afterwards. It's not funny. You can't, throw a rock and put your hand behind your back and say it wasn't me. You did it. I don't like that's just not right. So Joe is a white dude in this country, lives in his privileges. I'm not canceling Joe Rogan. I think Joe Rogan is one of the best to ever do it in terms of color commentary. I think he's phenomenal at his job. I know people hate on him for that. I think he was better at one point in time, but I think he is so spread thin, you probably can't focus on it as much as he used to. So it is what it is. Also, on Israel Adesanya, who you guys know I fucking love Izzy. But for Israel Adesanya to go out there and say, I'm black, I support Joe Rogan. Izzy, you are not a black man from this country. So Israel Adesanya does not understand the ramifications on what that word means and feels to a person from this country who grew up in it. It's not the same. This exact same way that I don't understand and know the plight and the struggles and all of the socioeconomic issues that went on or go on in New Zealand and Nigeria and anywhere around the world, they don't understand the histories. They don't understand the histories of what happens here and the ramifications and how it affected the people that live in this country. So him saying that, trying to say, oh, Joe Rogan ain't this and that, he can have that, but Israel Adesanya showed his ignorance. And he showed, and again, I was extremely disappointed in that statement. Fam, I hear what you're saying. You need to take a step back. You need to do your history. You need to have a little bit of empathy for the black folks in this country and understand why a white man of that, he shouldn't be saying that. So I think it's asinine for him or any other black athletes I see. I got love for these dudes. I got love for Terrence McKinney. Chicago, stand up. I love that dude. But him going out there supporting Joe, I'm like, dog, we gotta have more. I mean, look, you call a spade a spade. If somebody fucks up, call it what it is. Okay? That's all I'm saying. All right, moving right along. All I say, I want to keep the energy up. And there's a lot of energy to be kept up. And I am joined next. And like I told you guys, we're doing different shit now. It's not just, we're talking about fights. This is our one-stop shop for all things combat sports. And what else is in combat sports? We talking about some pro wrestling. So joining us next on the show is none other than my sister from another Mr. Miss Dre Day on the Royal Rundown this week in pro wrestling. Check it out. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Royal Rundown this week in pro wrestling. As always, we are joined by the TFP's pro wrestling contributor, none other than Miss Dre Day. Miss Dre Day, welcome to the show.
What it do? Hello.
Well, look, you're here. We're excited. Again, we're really rocking with the Royal Rundown. Let's talk pro wrestling because I swear, ever since we started this, maybe it's just me. I know I'm just getting into this, but I don't remember this much news, and I feel like there's so much shit going on, from rumors to actual drama and events and beyond. So let's jump into it.
Welcome.
We all
welcome to the crazy world.
Right. Welcome to the circus.
It goes down everywhere, everywhere, all the time.
You know what? It's exciting. I love it, and I think, like I said, it is like some kind of drug that we probably shouldn't have, but it's pretty fantastic when you take it. So let's keep going. But right now in the news, I'm hearing people aren't happy about Brock and Ronda. Brock and Ronda, as we know, won the Royal Rumble. Now, let me ask you this. What are people saying about it? What's going on? What do you think?
Listen, so it's a lot going on. The Royal Rumble happened. The Royal Rumble Premium Live event occurred a couple weeks ago. I think we're at 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks ago or so.
2 weeks. Yes.
our men's Royal Rumble winner is Brock Lesnar. Our women's Royal Rumble winner is the returning Ronda Rousey, right? And, we talked about this in, the Royal Rundown last week. We weren't, as a unit, we weren't too happy about that either. And we're not alone. Apparently, a loud majority is also agreeing with us. Allegedly, according to like Fightful Select and some other really cool, really cool and reputable wrestling sites. Even backstage, they had to have a little bit of a talk with her about how that she's going to be presented between now and WrestleMania. And, she had some interesting things to say in the time she's been apart from WWE about wrestling fans. And, she was a little upset that her run the last time didn't necessarily go as planned because she was supposed to be a face in that whole situation. And the crowd was booing her a lot. So they were kind of forced to heal her up a little bit more.
Now, I do think it's interesting that they do that because at the end of the day, isn't she supposed to be a face right now?
Like in theory, I don't know. So and that's the terrible part because it's like we're supposed to be educated wrestling fans, right? We're trying,
that's what we're shooting for.
We're trying to be as educated as possible. And even we get confused with how things tend to get booked sometimes. So in my personal opinion, she's supposed to be fighting. She chose Charlotte, right, as her Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship as her WrestleMania opponent. Charlotte is absolutely a heel. Like there has, in this leg of her run.
Now, I have to say, she's a pretty damn good heel.
She's a great heel. She's a flair. That's what flares do. Flares are heels. Period. Point blank. We love them, but that's what they are. And that's the point because they're so good at it. And so in theory, Ronda should be the face in this particular feud, but she's got such a contentious relationship with the fans that how is that going to work? So, my personal opinion, she probably shouldn't have been her WrestleMania opponent since we've chosen to have Ronda here. I think she should have actually went back to the Becky thing. And I think that would have been far more interesting and a little bit easier because Becky's a heel, but she's being cheered. So we could easily turn her face with a thing with Ronda, right? But they chose the other way, so we got what we got.
Well, that's interesting, and there's been a lot of interesting storylines right now. But not only has there been interesting storylines, obviously the choices that the WWE have made, but we're hearing a lot of this forbidden door talk, and I keep hearing about it left and right. What is going on? Because one of these cons, it was either Tony Khan or Nick Khan. I can't remember which con.
Well, there's two.
But there's two,
and they run two of the two biggest North American companies.
Well, Tony Khan goes out there. Tony Khan of AEW goes out there and says that they have a mystery signing, and I'm hearing a couple different things. I'm gonna ask you about it. I've heard the names Triple H. I've heard Shane McMahon. I've heard Jeff Hardy. I've even heard Keith Lee. Is it going to be any of those people? Like, can we see Triple H's old ass after like heart surgery just come out there and actually start doing something? Is this going to happen?
Let's be clear. Let's be very clear. The chaos would be crazy, right? Like, come on.
Tell me
if Hunter Hearst, if Paul Levesque popped up in AEW, would it not be?
It'd be incredible.
The best kind of shenanigans.
It'd be the best nonsense in the world. I love it.
It would be shenanigans.
I'm here for all the shenanigans.
And if I had a little fantasy booking moment, like they could even like redo the Monday Night Wars, but like plan it because his wife is Stephanie McMahon. He's who he is. That would be some fun television. I loved it. That would be some fun TV. Now, I mean, the chances of that happening, very small, but it would be some fun.
Well, let me ask you this, because if it is small, which one of these options are actually the ones that we think is going to be the logical choice? Are any of them going to happen? Or is it just like, this is just fantasy booking at its finest?
It's so insane because the whole Forbidden Door thing is so wide open right now. And it's the widest openness, if none of those are words, but it's like, it's so open. It's the biggest it's ever been in terms of, since the territories. In my personal opinion, like the possibilities are just endless at this point. A lot of people thought it was Jeff Hardy or think it's Jeff Hardy. I don't think it's Jeff Hardy yet. I think we will see him by the end of this year, he will be in AEW.
Okay.
That's 1000%. I don't think it's this one though. I'm personally thinking and hoping it's Keith Lee. My only, little ick about maybe it not being Keith Lee is because, the man in Mia Yim, who's also a wonderful professional wrestler, who's also technically a free agent right now, which is also really cool, right?
They just got married,
literally this weekend. So like, that's my only thing. Like, hey, they beach somewhere chilling, honeymooning. Are they gonna cut that short for him to make a really great and dope appearance at AEW?
I would love it. I hope he does it. I will actually be watching Dynamite this week to find out.
I think that's one of the most logical choices. I think that's one of the most easiest choices that could probably happen. Keith Lee is freaking Keith Lee all over the world. The only people who watch wrestling and are wrestling fans or in the wrestling business who don't think Keith Lee is the people who just released him, which is the strangest thing on the planet. So that's that.
Interesting.
Wild card pick. You and I have chatted briefly about this. Wild card pick. It could be Swerve.
Oh my God. That would be if that happens, Swerve is one of my favorites. So
Swerve
if he goes out there and actually gets signed with AEW, I would actually watch AEW. How crazy is that?
Is that what we need to do to get you to watch AEW? Swerve, bro. I mean, he's got Fightful Select today just posted and just talked about how Swerve has his choice of literally anywhere he want to go, he can go there. And I mean,
if he goes to AEW, I'm watching.
There it is. Swerve, can we get this man? You would help me out. I'm really trying to get him there.
I'll be honest with you. If Keith Lee goes, I'm watching.
Okay. There it is.
If Keith Lee goes, I'm watching. If Shane McMahon goes, I'm still not watching. All right. Next up.
If Shane goes, that's gonna be some TV too. You're gonna watch that. You're gonna watch that. Stop it.
All right. Next up down the docket, we have to talk about this because a lot of rumblings backstage have been going on, and it's not just because of the Ronda Brock thing. People aren't liking the way this superstar in general is being handled. Yo, what's going on with Big E?
Man, y'all know, if you've watched me on here, Serge already knows Big E is one of my absolute favorites, period, point blank in the story. And, I felt like a lot of people apparently have felt as well as that his WWE championship run wasn't as strong as it absolutely needed to be. And then for him to lose the title the way he did, and then not just that, like everything that's happened since the day one premium live event was just like it's very obvious that he's kind of being brought back down the card, and down is a really whack word for that too. But he's been at SmackDown when he's a Raw superstar. Technically, he's back tagging with Kofi, which could have a little bit to do with Xavier Woods being hurt at the moment. However, he is now a one-time WWE champion, and he's being treated as if he wasn't that.
He's just another guy.
He had a very lackluster showing in the Royal Rumble, and
didn't even eliminate anyone in the Royal Rumble.
Not a person. Yeah,
not a single one.
And everyone, all of us as fans, we wanted more for him, but apparently the reports are going out right now all over the world, all over the Twitter's verse, in the internet wrestling community and such, that the fans aren't the only ones a little upset about that. There's people backstage that are also like, yo, we needed to treat BE better than that. Yes. And I think unanimously we all agree with that.
Absolutely. No, that's so true. I mean, I'm such a Big E fan, and one of the things that not a lot of these WWE superstars and the champions, once they become champions, they become amazing ambassadors of the sport. He was an incredible ambassador of the sport while he was a champion in the short time that he was the champ. So it's really a shame that he's kind of getting the short end of the stick at this point in time. I hope that he gets back in there in some way, shape, or form, but don't look like it. It doesn't sound like it anytime soon. But maybe he'll get a crack at something, because we all know he's not going to beat the tribal chief. I mean, it's not going to happen.
I mean, do we?
Yes, we do.
I mean, do we though?
We do. Yes.
I mean, do we?
Obviously, especially the way he's being booked right now. Come on.
Right now. Right now,
Yeah, right
though.
now.
We're talking about
Truly.
right now. But do we? You got to remember, Serge, I know it's been a minute. You're only like, what, 10 months in the game being back watching? Like, for
a
real, for
solid
real?
14. Don't do me.
Solid 14. I'm sorry. Solid 14 months. Let me give him his little 4 months because he going to cuss.
You know
You're
what I'm
about
saying?
14
I've
months back
earned it.
in, right? Okay. I want you to ponder the changes you've already seen in 14 months. Okay? So listen.
I don't know. In those 14
in
months,
the world,
my tribal chief has been the
well,
champion.
that's because he had just started though. Stop it.
He did. I was there before. I started before he was champ.
We've had to teach you and tell you what occurred before this, and you're like, oh, and then you've watched things, and you're like, really? And I'm like, yes, that all happened.
I've learned a lot. I have learned a lot, and I appreciate that. I have.
So I'm just saying, in the world of professional wrestling, it literally doesn't matter what company you're talking about, but especially WWE, you never know. And stranger things have happened than a Big E, former WWE champion, beating Roman Reigns. I'll give you a very current example. Bobby Lashley technically beat Brock Lesnar.
He did beat Brock Lesnar.
The Brock Lesnar.
It's not a technicality.
You know the one that ended Undertaker's streak? That Brock Lesnar. They let Bobby Lashley beat him. Now, granted, is it probably for a bigger storyline purpose?
Yes.
Hopefully. But
I hope. We don't know what they're doing right now, and it is very interesting to see.
You never know
what's going on. And now that I am been paying attention more and more, it is strange to see some of the things, because I know the idea of long-term storytelling is really a thing. So you're looking to see these stories, and then sometimes the way that sometimes they pivot, it doesn't make sense to the stories that they've already started to tell. So I'm curious to see what they're going to continue doing. But you know what? I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot more happening, and we will get you back on here to talk about especially what happens after, Dynamite. Is Keith Lee going to be the guy? Is it going to be Swerve? Am I going to watch AEW? We will find out very soon. Ms. Drade, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Serge.
And we will see you all next time right here on the Royal Rundown.
Boom. There we go. Thank you, as always, to my sister from another Mr. Ms. Drade. So happy to have her on the show. And there's so much going on. Like I said, this weekend there's Elimination Chamber, and there will be a lot more ramifications. Fucking Cody Rhodes is out of AEW. So there's so much that went on with that. So we will be talking about all that and more very soon. We'll have Ms. Drade back on the show. But remember, listen to the Fight Podcast everywhere podcasting is available. Apple, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Check us out at thefightpodcast.com. Listen, like, subscribe, share. Also, do not forget to go ahead and have all your friends check out our new shop, etsy.com/shop/thefightpodshop. Fire merch. As you see, I'm drinking right now out of our classic white coffee mug, saying start your day off right with the Fight Pod. We have, crews and everything. As you see, all of our merch, all of our clothing is Champion brand. So it's really fly. It's durable, American company. You know how we gets down. There it is, man. Check us out today. All right. This weekend, there is a lot of UFC fights. We have Bellator this weekend as well, which is back, which I can't wait for. And Bellator also just announced in April, there is the rematch. Number 2, we got AJ McKee, Patricia Pitbull 2. Can't wait to see that. But this weekend, what I'm going to talk about today, we have to talk about UFC Vegas 48. UFC Vegas 48 is this weekend. And let's get a little preview in here. We're going to talk about it. It should be actually a kind of a fun card, especially at the very top. There's some really, really good fights, really good guys on here. Let's go ahead and break it down. Get my notepad out for y'all and shit. All right. Main event. This is going to be the 18-6, number 10 ranked Johnny Walker finding the number 12 ranked 9-1 Jamal Hill. I really love this fight. It's a fight that's really going to be, I'm not going to say it's a crossroads fight for Johnny Walker, but it's one of those temperature check fights for like a Jamal Hill. How good is he really? Okay. Johnny Walker is a badass. He's huge. He's extremely athletic. He has obviously has some shortcomings, but he's looked good as of late. I mean, 6'6", huge, 15 wins via KO, 2 of his wins a submission. I mean, dude is an absolute monster. He went out there, even though, like I said, he lost to, Thiago Santos, he looked amazing doing it. I mean, this guy is really coming into his own. Knockouts, submissions, very well-rounded. On the other hand, we got, Jamal Hill, who number 12, obviously we saw him take that, get his arm almost dislocated and beaten over his own head with it against Paul Craig, which is crazy. But this kid is really good, and he has amazing power, and he is always willing to learn. I'm a huge fan of him, man, even his personality and his presence. So when I see this fight, it is a 5-round main event. Jamal Hill doesn't have the experience. If we're looking at average fight time, Johnny Walker 7 minutes and 50 seconds, Jamal Hill 6 minutes and 17 seconds. Both can finish the fight at any point in time. I'll be very honest with you. In a fight like this, where even though Johnny Walker is the bigger guy and he has, I would say the more well-rounded game, we've seen, Jamal Hill, get submitted on the ground. I'll be honest with you. There's something about what Hill's doing right now, his power, his athleticism. I think we're looking at somebody that has absolutely the ability to be a future champ. He has the grit. He has the heart. When Paul Craig, dislocated his elbow, he wasn't quitting. Most people would have quit. He was literally hitting this man with the dislocated elbow. Okay, it was crazy. It looked like one of those inflatable men just kind of floating around. The shit was nuts. So I'm going with Jamal Hill. I think he gets it done second round. TKO. I can't wait for this fight. I think it is going to be chaos. I think it's one of those fights that he can catch, Johnny Walker in the midst of the chaos and get him out there. Should be a good fight. Co-main event should also be fun. Obviously, we have Kyle Dawkins versus Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett is coming in on short notice. This is a classic striker versus grappler fight. Yes, they can both knock people out. Yes, they can both submit people. But Kyle Dawkins, 28 years old, 10-2, 1-0 contest. Jamie Pickett, 13-6. 33 years old. Julian Marquez pulled out. I think this fight would have been very difficult for Kyle Dawkins, Julian Marquez versus Julian Marquez, because I think Julian Marquez is just huge. I think he's huge. I think he's well-rounded, and I think he might have overwhelmed Kyle Dawkins. I think this is a close fight. Look, he has 8 submissions. He has 0 KOs. On the other hand, Jamie Pickett has 9 KOs and 0 submissions. So, obviously, Jamie Pickett wants to keep it on the feet. He did just fight a month ago, looked pretty good. I go back and forth with this one because I have a lot of respect for Kyle Dawkins. I think I'm going with Jamie Pickett with the momentum, and it might change. I might come back later on this week on Scrappy Hour and change it, but I'm going with Jamie Pickett KO on this one. Also in this fight, we have Jim Miller fighting Nicholas Mota. Nicholas Mota, up-and-coming young dude. He's a minus 180 favorite. Jim Miller plus 155, 33-16 versus 12-3. Mota's, former CFFC guy, former 864 fighting, former Shudo guy. I don't know, man. I think he's talented. I think he's tough. I think he's hungry. I think if Jim Miller comes and is Jim Miller, I think Jim Miller wins. So I'm going to rock with Jim Miller. Last but not least on this card, we have Joaquin Buckley minus 145 favorite against Abdul Rachik Al-Hassan. This is going to be a good fight. This is another fight that I do not see going the distance. I don't see this fight going the distance at all. Both guys 5'10", both guys explosive. This is a because it is not at no, never mind. It is. It's still at 185. This is going to be a fun fight. I can't wait. I'm going to say, damn, they're so similar. I'm going Joaquin Buckley. I think Buckley gets him. But regardless, should be a great fight. Love it. Fun card. We'll break it down later on this week. We might have some fun guests on to do that with us. But all right, with that being said, that is about all the time we have for today. Love you guys, man. A couple fights that like I said, definitely looking forward to this weekend. Obviously, is the card itself. But love you guys. Make sure you check out our Etsy shop, etsy.com/shop/thefightpod shop. Check that out. And also, do not forget, follow us on Instagram at The Fight Podcast. Follow me at Serg Vicente, and just also follow me on Twitter at the Serg Vicente. On there, I drop all of my articles. Check out the Scrap News as well. Salute to my people at the Scrap News. Check them out. A lot of my articles are released on there as well. And everybody, like I said, make sure you listen, subscribe, like The Fight Podcast everywhere podcasting is available. Apple, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, fightpodcast.com. Listen, like, subscribe, and share. If you guys haven't seen a bunch of this stuff on the podcasting platforms, we had to change some things up with all the changes to the show. So obviously, we're still rocking everything on YouTube, but all of our audio will be coming up soon as well. You'll actually hear this episode on there coming up soon. All right. That being said, love y'all. I'm the host of the Fight Pod, Serg Vicente. I will see you guys next time.